Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Scenic View podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Owens, alongside Artis Watkins, Suzanne Beasley, and Sammy Klein. I dispense with the titles this week.
Yeah,
I know
we don't need titles.
we didn't need them anymore. I bet we've gone 72 episodes. So I think at this point, people know us.
73rd episode.
Household names. Yeah.
Well, we got a lot to cover this week. Short 3-day session at the legislature, but a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. So the state legislature did return on, I guess, Monday, the Senate came back, and then Tuesday, the House took session. So they made a lot of national headlines with their congressional map redistricting. But for our folks, not a lot changed, right?
That's correct. Yeah, the big focus this week was obviously, I think I said it in my video, unless you're living under a rock, everybody knows, heard it in your news, either on social media, wherever you get your information from about the congressional maps being redrawn this week. So that definitely was a big focus. There were committee meetings where they allowed.
Can you explain real quick, though, why redistricting right now is unique or would matter?
Yeah. So, whatever party is in charge, they get the ability to redraw maps. Democrats got to redraw the maps when they were in power. That's a thing that happens, but this was outside of the...
It's every 10 years.
Yeah. This carved out another district, which will assure that there are enough red seats in Congress.
So the stated goal, if I was hearing this correctly, was, it was said by Senate and House leaders that President Trump wanted our legislature in North Carolina to respond to the activities in Texas, which had drawn their districts mid-cycle, because this was mid-cycle for us, a very unusual thing to do. And Texas gave, if things go the way they drew them, they will give more Republican seats in Congress in the midterm elections. California responded by saying, Texas, you should not have done that. California's just got a weird wrinkle, though. They said, we're going to draw it to where there's likely to be more Democratic seats out of California. However, California's has to go to the voters. Their legislature couldn't just draw them outright and do it. So North Carolina's legislative leaders seem to be saying in the last few days, President Trump wants us to respond to what California did.
So here's our response. I think the big issue here is you're focused on this, and we heard this from the general public that was there. We heard it from protesters that showed up this week. I've heard it just in conversations with people I know, but even a lot of legislators, we're here focusing on congressional maps, and we don't even have a budget yet. The bigger issue is not having a budget.
They've been back a number of times on a bunch of stuff and haven't done a budget.
That's
right.
That was the thing. And here we are again, and we're focused on something else besides passing a comprehensive state budget. So, all the things need to happen. And, that's important. Obviously, those are our issues, but there are other things in the budget that need to be funded and get some attention. So it's problematic that we don't have a state budget.
Let's back up just a second. Can you explain, I guess, what the holdup is? What is the issue? Why are they not going?
Understanding this week anyway. So the House doesn't want to agree to the tax cuts in the personal income tax that the Senate wants. That was agreed upon by a different General Assembly under different leadership. So that's where we hit the bump in the road. The House is just not moving on that because they were not the ones who made the promise. Leadership was not the ones who made the promise.
So
it was a different...
The argument of the House is there wouldn't be enough money to pay the bill.
That's true,
if we
too.
did that.
That's true. And that's coming from both parties. Obviously, the Democrats, but even the Republicans realize that. So, but that's a hard line on the Senate side. So nothing is moving. There has been some discussion. The House wanted more money for state employees and some retiree money. Senate does not. So, it's just the biggest doggone stalemate ever. Is
that strange given that both the House and the Senate are controlled by the same party? Or do you see that often?
No, it's not unusual to see.
No, but I think that there's usually a little bit of an appetite for negotiating and actually coming to an agreement on some level. Even if it's through mini budgets, we still keep things funded and keep things moving along.
I don't know. Remember the year we were there? right before Thanksgiving. We were actually more than 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, we've had our people down there.
November. And that was when Democrats were in charge of the House and Senate. And there were many times they would be at loggerhead. I think it just depends what somebody's signature issue is going to be, and the Senate's pretty much decided, look, continuing to lower that personal income tax rate, which the stated intention was in a continued march towards zero, being a state without personal income tax, which is great. No one wants to pay state personal income tax. However, they want the services that pays for, and they want the really strong university system and stuff like that.
And they want to complain when DMV isn't.
Right. And I think therein lies the problem. What are you going to do? There's not enough money. So
right.
Yeah.
You can't have all the it's like sitting down with your personal budget. You can't have all the things. You have to figure out what doesn't get done.
Well, first you have to have
prioritize
budget,
those things.
Right.
Well, what's not getting done in this is us in terms of the state employees' raises and the COLAs for retirees.
I mean, not even in a mini budget,
Yeah.
The House yesterday did pass, which both chambers have passed some kind of spending bill.
Yeah.
The thing is, those spending bills aren't crossing over to the other chamber to be heard, and both chambers have to agree for this to happen. So, the Senate did their spending bill this week, which most of that was focused on Medicaid. Then the House came in yesterday with Senate Bill 599, which they gutted and put in the language from their original House budget that they passed. So that does include, the pay raises, the steps. There were some bonuses in there. It does include all that. However, just because it passed the House doesn't mean it's moving anywhere. We've still got to have a budget for all these things to happen. Even though they were approved in these bills, both sides have to approve. Both chambers have to approve them. The House is not hearing the Senate legislation. The Senate's not hearing the House legislation, and we don't have a comprehensive budget to move either one of them. So please don't get confused. I know it sounds good. You hear the House passed this thing, but this thing isn't going to move.
Yeah.
We have to have a budget for things to move.
And in the News and Observer story on this today, Representative Aaron Pare, is that right? Pare pointed out the comprehensive budget negotiation that we're all waiting on. That's how the raises would happen.
That's right.
So,
that's right. That's, over the years we've seen bills that are filed, separate standalone bills for a COLA. You see a bill for a COLA, a bill for pay raises. And those are great. They keep the conversation going. They keep it, out front so everybody's hearing about it. But those bills aren't going to pass either. Those things are handled through the state budget, always.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, what about a mini budget to take care of that? Would that?
So they could, yeah. I mean, and they've done that before, carved out whatever piece of the budget, which could be our pay raises, retiree money. That could all be in one mini budget.
They still have to pay for it, though, right?
Bill, they still have to pay for it.
Yeah. So I just see here that that bill passed 110 to 0.
Yeah.
You'd think that with that much support in one house, you could find some sort of package for the House and the Senate.
But let's not forget what the House passed in that bill in terms of pay raises, this symbolic bill.
Yes.
Is those pay raises would still be very inadequate. When the House came out with but this is the exact same thing the House put in their version of the budget, which had pay raises that were disrespectfully low.
Yeah, 2.5%.
To most of state government. Now, they did very well in some pockets where we really do need to...
Yeah, the step plans.
To be competitive and...
There's law enforcement.
But for most of the state employees and for all of the retirees, it was a disrespectful budget. And I take issue with the fact that people keep referring to what was put in that budget for retirees on the floor as a COLA. It is not.
It is not.
It's a bonus.
Nothing about that money has anything to do with a COLA. So calling it a COLA bonus or calling it a COLA supplement, anything with the word COLA in it is
and a lot of times
incorrect.
They kept saying 2%, the 2% for retirees.
Yes.
Well, that's misleading, y'all.
Yes.
I don't think anybody really intended to mislead by saying that, but the effect of that is very misleading. If a retiree hears that, they think that if you say 2%, that means COLA.
Yeah. I mean, last night I was still answering comments on social media, some text messages, some emails from folks who were confused about that. You throw it out there and people hear it and they get excited. They think something's going to happen, or they're like, that's it. That's all we're getting. And so I've had to explain a number of times that this isn't the final place that we stop. But the amount of money is still minuscule. It's not a COLA. It's not going to raise your base benefit.
Right. And for, again, most of the active employees, and we have vacancy problems all over state government. Yeah. This wouldn't do anything to keep people, even if it was real and not just something.
Well, exactly. And so, and you know, what we still hear, because it's the truth, is they're going to have premium increases. So that's coming up. So they're still going in the hole, 2.5%. They're getting a premium increase. So you're still basically going in the hole.
Yeah. And just to take you on a little journey here with where my thought process is going, like, at the same time, other employers, private employers are probably giving raises, right? So
yes, for the most
they
part.
become even more attractive to state employees.
Yeah.
When they're not getting raises at their work, what's to stop them from going somewhere else? So we're just going to keep losing people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're kind of a training ground. I've reached out to OSHR, and at the moment there doesn't seem to be a specific number for the cost of turnover, but we know that that's...
Well, the last time there was a cost, which was before the vacancy rate got acute post-COVID, even the last time, it was more than $500 million then. So I bet people did stop keeping track of that because it would be sobering and distressing.
You know, and Representative Prather even touched on that. She didn't give a number either in her comments yesterday, but she touched on the fact that this is costing so much money to the state.
If you've run a business, you know.
That's right.
It costs you money if you have turnover.
Taxpayer issue.
Just an aside, a little podcast promotion. You said OSHR. We will be having OSHR director on. Is it next week
week.
Okay?
Super excited about that.
Exciting.
Stacey Meyer.
So stay tuned for that. But back to the session, Artis, you mentioned that they've had several of these sessions and nothing happened. I think what makes this a little different is because House Speaker Destin Hall said that they are not going to take votes.
Speaker Hall, at the end of session, notices and announcements, he announced that he did not anticipate any more votes this year. Now, the adjournment resolution requires there be a session in November and a session in December, but they hold skeletal sessions when they're not doing actual business. There will be no votes. Anything can change. It's the legislature. But he made that announcement, so you can pretty much count on that they're done. I did hear a lot of chatter yesterday that they won't do anything until after primaries, which makes sense too. So that will put us right at short session. And if you guys remember, we talked about this at the first adjournment by the General Assembly. We were told by folks in leadership that it would probably be short session before they actually did a comprehensive budget. So that looks like what's probably going to happen.
So every month that there's no raise, that's money the state saves.
It is.
And so there's going to be a whole year that goes by, in all likelihood, where the state can try to make the fiscal outlook of the state look better by not giving raises or not giving anything to retirees. But this is not new to state employees and retirees, because this chronic vacancy crisis since COVID has put billions in the state, back in the state coffers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at what's there, it's not always because of policies. It's because of the services we did not make sure people are getting, if that makes sense. I don't know if that... If you've got those jobs vacant and you're therefore keeping more money around because of that, that's not the economy's great, because the policies are working.
That's just on paper. That's not services being delivered, which is where people are feeling this.
Right. So, Suzanne...
So that money that they're saving, where's it going?
Well, I mean, right now, it's not money. When it was vacant positions, that money just reverted.
Right.
But this isn't money that's sitting there because it's not being spent. But if you're trimming your costs by not taking care of your workforce, would be your first thing you deal with.
So essentially, they're almost making cuts by inaction, right?
So basically what I'm trying to say is we keep seeing more and more government, but less government services.
Yes.
It used to be that people said, we want a smaller government. And they quite literally meant, I want less employees. And now I think it's an odd place we're in, where government's getting huge in terms of its reach into our lives.
Yeah.
But in terms of the support it offers our lives, it's diminishing.
Yeah, that's the hurtful part.
So, and I think, your basic Joe Q taxpayer probably doesn't ever put those dots together and say, oh, you know what? When I call the Secretary of State's office, it's longer for my small business to get a return call. That probably is because there's vacant. That's not what's rolling through their minds. But again, I think we talked about this a few podcasts ago. In our membership, which is scenic members are all over the map politically.
Yeah, they are.
They're very representative of the state in terms of that. So that's kind of a gift for us. However, one thing I've seen is they're becoming less partisan in some ways than the general public seems to be, because they do see it. And they're like, look, again, we said this last week, they don't really care who's in Don Davis's seat so much. They very much care that there's not a budget. They know the effects on their own personal pocketbook, but they also know the effects on the public in their agency when there's not a budget.
That's right.
And we're not moving North Carolina forward. So I think public employees are getting pretty jaded by the process, to say the least.
I think everyone is. And I think that what you just said leads to a lot of that. Like, people see that they're not getting the services they need, and they automatically blame
I think
the
it's
government.
lazy employees is what they think.
And it's not all, I mean, it's obviously...
DMV was the perfect, always the perfect example of exactly that. Not getting the services, being angry at the employees, thinking they're the reason, when actually it's lack of investment from our government.
Well, I think that kind of leads to our next topic. I mean, it does. These efficiency committees that are about to come meet, what is it, next week? Which one is meeting?
Yeah, so next week is the House Select Committee on Government Efficiency.
What do we call it? What was our...
We called it SCOGE. Representative Torbett, Representative Kidwell are the chairpersons of that committee. And they finally had their first meeting a couple of weeks ago, so they're starting to hear from different segments of government, where they possibly can address waste, fraud, and abuse, those issues. So we did a little poking around yesterday to find out what was on the agenda for next week's meeting. It wasn't on the website yet. And we're told by both the chairpersons that it will be DMV and DOT presentations. So we're expecting to hear from the auditor next week, Auditor Bullock, about his report that he did on DMV. It's unclear. I don't think that there are going to be any recommendations I haven't gotten that indication from anyone that I spoke with so far that come out next week, but we can look for some kind of recommendations about how to address the issues, particularly at DMV. And those are probably going to include some privatization discussions, which, obviously Scenic is opposed to privatizing state services when you've got great people who already do the work. So, stay tuned on that.
Haven't we spent a lot of money, though, with all these sessions, and we don't have a budget?
Yeah, right.
So, I'm just
It's a fair question.
Just being honest here. Like, it's hard to sit there and talk about waste and efficiency when the job's not getting done, and it's very costly to not get the job done. That's hard after a while. So
that's not efficient.
I will be very interested to see how they handle that. I think that'd be a tough one to pull off right now.
Oh, we had Representative Torbett in our old studio, your office, a few months, but I guess it was March or April, right? So you can go back and listen to that podcast, and I actually revisited it this week. But it was a good podcast. So
it was, and we've done, transparency of state health plan contracts, transparency of what we're paying in fees to Wall Street in the retirement system. Those are things that we've already teed up for that committee. What a perfect place to address those.
And we're talking billions there.
Billions, yeah. So you want to talk about, getting rid of some waste and inefficiency.
Yeah, Representative Torbett was great to come talk with us. He's a great guy.
He is.
And I think that he's a very well-meaning legislator.
Yeah.
I just think it's really hard to do that. I think his committee's been put in a bad position again because a lot of money's been wasted coming to Raleigh a bunch of times without doing the main job the legislature's supposed to do. And I think after a while, that makes it very hard to then look at the agencies and kind of armchair quarterback them.
Yeah. How do you do that when you don't even have your spending plan in place?
Right.
Yeah, they waste so much money coming to Raleigh, they're not going to save anything from the tax problem that they're arguing about, right?
And interesting, I've even heard legislators say that.
Oh, a lot of them are grumbling about
spending all this money to pay for us to come back to town, and we don't have a budget.
Yeah, because they're part-time employees pretty much. They have lives and jobs. And
we are supposed to have a citizen legislature, a part-time legislature, so that regular people can run for office and participate in making policy for the state of North Carolina. They can't do that right now.
And in the interest of transparency, I've said a number of times to the press, not just this year, but in past years, we don't really care so much about getting it done by July 1 as getting it done right. But there does come a point in time where, okay, at some point, it does matter. Not by July 1 necessarily.
Yeah, you can have some wiggle room.
Because sometimes they would get it done later, make the raise retroactive.
Right. So you still get paid even if it's not on time. But here we are creeping up on November.
Right.
No closer to a budget.
I mean, if they wait till the short session, it'll be probably April or May, right? And then...
Yeah, short session starts in April.
And then they have, 7 months of a budget, and they'll have to do it all again, right?
I mean, this is just a mess at this point. And if you're listening, you're probably thinking, okay, we get it. They haven't come up with a budget. So what are you doing about it, Scenic? And that's a really good question. What we do every day is try to push these issues with legislators, try to make the case for why you should matter as a state employee or as a retiree, and why that matters to everyone in this state, honestly, how you're treated. And Suzanne, what else would you say to somebody who wants to know what's Scenic doing about this?
Well, I mean, first of all, you've got a team on the ground consistently. If the legislature's there, by gosh, we're there. Continuing these conversations, making sure that they stay aware that, perfect example, back when they were hearing Arena's law, there was discussion about, there not being enough beds to handle mental health crisis issues, people who may need that kind of help. And the reason that there are not enough beds, there are beds there, but we don't have enough employees because of the vacancy issue. So all those kind of conversations have to continue to happen so that, lawmakers stay aware that that's the reason we need a budget. You've got to fund the services, first of all, but you've got to pay people in order to entice people to come to work for the state.
Awareness of what these agencies do. Otherwise,
and
honestly,
awareness of what the agencies do.
Otherwise, what's going to happen? A scalpel, chainsaw, whatever you want to say, is going to come out and start whacking at government as another way to try to get to the position where you can continue with the tax cuts.
Yep.
And honestly, it's just easy to do it if you don't have in your face what the agencies do. And that's a part of why this podcast, why we talk to so many agencies about, tell us what your folks do. Because even legislators, they can't be expected to know everything going on in every agency unless you tell them.
One of the big things when we go around talking to legislators, and we've got a lot of new legislators, so there's a lot of education that we're having to provide. But, one of our jobs, too, is to make ourselves a resource to legislators. So, not only are we educating them, but if they're like, okay, well, wait a minute, what about this? Let me call Scenic. So that relationship building is the biggest thing we do over there to make Scenic, a resource and the place to go when you have questions or issues. There are lots of times when there's legislation in the making where they come and find us. What's your position on this?
Yeah.
So you have to have that voice in the building all the time for them to be able to come and ask the question. So
we're used to being last on the list.
That's right.
I don't care who's in charge, because we lived through years of the Democrats being in charge of the House and Senate and the governor's mansion for most of those years. And we've lived through years of Republicans controlling the House and Senate. We're at the bottom of everybody's list because it's an expensive thing nobody really wants to spend money on, and that's public services. They get mad if they don't have the public services. They don't like the idea of paying for them. So, again, we're used to it. I will say Senator Berger made sure we weren't put last on that list for a while there with some mini budgets. And, things are different politically right now.
Yeah.
And so we're back kind of at the bottom of the list for everybody. That's where you come in as the listener. If you're a state employee or retiree, you've got to give that pressure, because trust me, corporations that want special incentives and things like that, they're calling all the time. You got to call.
They've got people on the ground. So
I was
Scenic is your voice. And I often say this when somebody asks, why is it worth it, being a Scenic member? Well, your voice is being heard over there. Can you imagine if there's nobody over there advocating for this? I mean, it would be out the window. There would be no discussion. Period. You wouldn't be on the table at all. So even when we're at the bottom of the list, the benefit of having Scenic is that you have a voice over there all the time. So you might be on the edge of the table, but by gosh, we're on the table.
Well, yeah, you would have nothing. Because nobody's giving you a raise or money as a retiree just because they have a feel-good spot for it. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and I think also it's great to reach out to your legislators. We always advocate for that. I think we could also maybe move a little public perception if we maybe had some members send us some videos of why or how you're being affected by not having a budget or something like that. And let's just compile some of those and let's make it public.
That would be great.
So I think we'll put that in the scoop. Send us a 5 or 10 second, 20 second, whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be long. And we can really make your voices heard.
Tell them where to
creative.
send it.
Yeah,
well, it'll be in the scoop because I'll have to make a form.
Well, but maybe somebody's listening who's not a member and doesn't get the scoop.
Podcast at scenic.org.
But these are all tools in our toolbox to help us make the case for you. And it is powerful when it comes from constituents. And I know you guys, sometimes you're like, you ask me to call all the time, but I don't get a response. What good is it doing?
If you're a retiree, do a short little snippet of yourself, a little video saying what you're not going to spend in your community because you're not getting your income message.
I think we're at a point at some point.
They still have to hear from you.
Yes, I think we're at a point at some point we have to escalate the fight to a different level. You take it to the public at some point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's...
And that's always been a battle, public
That's what we do.
Of state employees,
Yeah, and some support from people seeing members in action.
And we do get a lot of comments on social media. This is because the Republicans are in charge. And no, it didn't. Democrats, like I said, when they were in charge, we fought the same fights. So honestly, this isn't about party. It's about policy and where
priorities lie.
Yeah, I mean, the priorities are going to be the squeakiest wheel. So get those videos in.
Yeah.
And Scenic's not about party either. So let's,
Well, no, we can't be because our
is issue driven.
Yeah.
Our members are all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be fun. I think we need some.
Yeah, send us some videos, y'all. That's a great idea.
We'll throw them all to Sam and let her take care of them. So she's going to be our TikTok influencer. From what I understand, right?
Scenic influencer.
We need to start that program, by the way. Just some influencers to push our message.
I like it.
Anyway, that's a
think outside of the box. Getting with the times.
Let's go back inside the box for a second. The retirement system will be meeting on October 30th. What do you see coming out of that?
So this is the meeting where the actuaries come and give the valuation report. So there will be
a long, boring meeting.
Well, I mean, I don't know that I ever call it boring because I learn something every single time. It's it's complicated stuff. If you're not an actuary, you have to listen carefully. So
several slideshows, right?
Several slideshows.
So I remember when I first started Scenic, one of the first meetings, period, I was sent to was that meeting. And I was like, oh my God, is this what this job's going to be about? But that's...
so this is where they'll discuss earns, what the 12 years paying into the unfunded liability. There's going to be discussion of extending that to 15 years. Haven't seen all the materials yet, the reports from the actuary.
Treasurer Briner talked about that when he was here on our podcast.
He did. So, that was a informative podcast.
It's kind of similar to like taking a 30-year mortgage out instead of a 15-year mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because our amortization rate is really different than a lot of states. But also want to point out, again, the way our folks' retirement check is calculated in the first place is different than more than half of the states, which use a formula that makes it a significantly higher number they get in terms of percentage of what their pay had been as their retirement check.
Than they do here. Our people get lower.
We get lower.
Yeah. And we talked about that as well on our podcast.
We did, yeah. So if you haven't listened to the one we did a few weeks ago with Treasurer Briner, take a listen.
Yeah, lots of good information in that one.
But the thing about the meeting on the 30th is people need to have information about who the board is so they can contact them about what do you do with the gains. And we talked to Treasurer Briner about that as well.
Yeah.
Let's say the gains are outstanding. Let's say they made 30%, on their investments. what do you do with that? Now, Treasurer Briner has to answer to a lot of bosses out there. We've got the folks in the system. He's got the legislature. He's got the public. He's got to make all these constituents happy, right? Our concern is we have such a huge system, and even when we were making tremendous gains, there supposedly wasn't enough money for COLAs. So then we weren't making as much money. Well, there's not much money to give, so we can't give money to COLAs. We go back to making a lot of money. Is that going to change life for retirees, or are they still going to tell them, we don't have money to give you a COLA? That would be hogwash.
Yeah, so you've heard us speak of the ECRIS before. That acronym means the Employer Contribution Rate Stabilization Policy, which means what the state puts in. This would keep a cap on that so that you're not asking so much from the state. So if there are gains over and above that cap, what happens to them? Well, operational costs come out of that money to keep the system going. And then there's never enough. There's never that amount substantial enough to give a COLA. So, being that this is the year that they will revamp the ECRIS, that they will have conversations about it, that's every 5 years, now seems the perfect time for us to be making the case for spending that money on a COLA.
Yeah.
Like we tell people, the system is built to provide its own COLA, and it is from gain. So if we have, a really good year, then those funds need to address the people's pocketbook.
And not to begrudge any state employee for getting a job or anything and any investment in state employees, but you just said that the administrative costs come out of that money, and isn't that going to be higher now because they've brought so many investment things?
Yeah, but it won't.
It's not going to.
That doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, you're talking $130 billion fund.
That's true.
So,
okay.
Yeah, no. And they need to have qualified investment people bring that stuff in-house, stop paying as many fees. I mean
that's
you can't see the fees, but, we understand if you look at other public systems where you can see the fees, that they're probably pretty high.
Yeah. Back to just a second on the unfunded liability. Seems to me that that's always seen as kind of the boogeyman for a lot of these discussions.
I mean, everybody's not going to retire at one time.
Yeah, that's
okay. So, but here's so the unfunded liability is, you take your asset to liability ratio, how much money we have in the system. Again, it's over $130 billion versus your liability. If everybody retired today that was eligible, how much would it cost us? And everybody's not going to retire at the same time because they have different amounts of service in. They don't all qualify. They qualify at staggered rates because that's how they were hired. So it became a really popular thing, I think about 15 years ago, to start talking about the unfunded liability of these systems, how it was just crushing. And that's all we heard from the legislature for a while. Then everybody stopped talking about it at the legislature. But Dale Folwell, when he was treasurer, he was very focused on it and got our unfunded liability marked, to come down a bunch. But his whole argument was like, look, one of the ways we get this unfunded liability to come down is to stop overpaying.
Yeah.
For the fees and associated with these investments. And same with on the health plan side, stop overpaying for our health care. And then nobody wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that gets thrown out when it needs to be thrown out. So if I'm the legislature and I don't want to contribute as much to the system, I'm going to start talking unfunded liability again.
Boogeyman.
Yeah.
Anything not to pay the COLA, right? So that's the way not only it feels to retirees, but it has been.
Yeah.
Anything under both parties not to give them a COLA.
All right. Well, that was the news portion of the Scenic View podcast. No, obviously we'll keep watching everything down at the legislature, and that's our job. But take action and send us some videos. Tell us what's going on. We'll put you on the World Wide Web.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, I think it's time for people to stand up.
Yeah.
I mean, we reached that point.
We have reached that point, you guys, and moving with the times. Let's have some tools in the toolbox that kind of reach out to.
And our best tool is our members, right?
I mean, your stories do matter to your elected representatives. They do matter. Yeah. And if they hear what you're not spending in your community, retirees, and if they hear what your experience is, actives, with your agency, I know some people may not feel comfortable doing a video about how, boy, it's bad times around here with all the vacancies, because then they might think that's going to get them in trouble at work. But you might tell them, here's the things I'm not doing with my family because my income's not rising, but my healthcare costs are.
Or because we're short-staffed, I'm having to work a ridiculous amount of hours, so I'm missing my children's recitals, baseball games, whatever.
Or I have a friend who just took a job at Target and is making more than me,
Yeah.
things like
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, Sammy, right?
Yes.
So what's going on in Gen Z world, Sammy?
He's got to get used to it.
Yeah, I don't know why I started calling you Sam, but I understand now. We had a whole discussion, by the way, before the podcast started. About what to call Sammy. So.
Yeah. Okay, so today, rather than spitting statistics and facts at you guys, I'd rather pose a question that has been heavily debated amongst Gen Zs, especially around election times or when there is a major humanitarian crisis. So I think that TikTok and the internet in general has proven Gen Zs to be very politically outspoken and demanding of transparency. We like transparent, authentic. But this question poses not necessarily how much transparency people are entitled to, but from whom. So the question is, do celebrities, and I use this term loosely because TikTokers with a couple million followers are deemed as celebrities now, do they have an obligation to share their political views?
I think that everyone has an obligation to share their political views. Thank you. I mean, see, I've
never thought about it.
I haven't, but part of me is like, well, I mean, you've got a platform. Mm-hmm. If you're a celebrity, then you have a platform that you can use.
Yeah. And I think that the reaction is always dependent on what party or what side you're coming from. Like if you say Ted Nugent, Kid Rock say these things, in support of MAGA views or whatever, then the left is going to be like, shut up and play guitar. But then if like LeBron James does it, they're like, shut up and play basketball. Mm-hmm. So I think that the outrage comes from your opponent no matter what you do. But I do think that I honestly do think that everybody, because this is America, this is our country. For now, at least, like it's.
And this is generational too, though. On the older end of the Gen Xers and my parents, boomers. I can remember there was a time you didn't ask somebody who they voted for. Mm-hmm. That was personal, and so there's still a piece of me that's like, well, technically, it's not your business.
Yeah,
but I'm just me. I'm not.
I guess I could see that. I think. Yeah, I don't. Obligation is a weird word in that situation.
I don't know. Well, it can be deemed as a moral or social obligation.
Honestly, people I liked better before I knew what.
I mean, musicians, for instance, if they want to, fine.
Yeah.
But if they don't, I don't know. I don't feel like they've got some kind of responsibility to. They're musicians and they want to focus on what they want to focus on. They may not read a lot about politics, keep up with politics, feel comfortable talking publicly about their personal political views. I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about.
They're there for their craft.
Other things. We work in politics, so we talk about it all the time. But
yeah, I guess you're right. I guess maybe my statement was a little too blanketed. But like, is that a word? I don't know. But like, yeah, you're right. If you don't want to, you shouldn't have to tell your views. But if you feel inclined, you should also not be shouted down for having.
It's so ridiculous. All the.
You have the right to if you want to, I guess. What do you think?
I feel like everyone has the right to express their opinion. However, if someone is speaking on something who is a celebrity based on their audience telling them they should, that's when misinformation gets spread and
it's also disingenuous.
People may exactly.
Yeah.
It is seen more as performative.
I do think a lot of celebrities put their finger to the wind before they speak out on things, like they want to do what's popular. So, but yeah, good question.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That was just something that I think a lot about because I do spend a lot of time on social media and I see people who will say, oh, you need to not follow and cancel these celebrities because they refuse to speak on this huge humanitarian crisis that is happening. And my response usually is, well, what if they don't know a lot about it? Yeah. It's not part of their industry.
They're still people.
it
Exactly.
doesn't necessarily have to do with their particular craft. Why do they have to speak out on it?
Yeah, so straight from Gen Z, y'all, something to ponder.
Yeah.
I remember Michael Jordan's old saying on this, right? Republicans buy shoes too.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's good.
But no, that's a very broad question there, Sam. Good topic. Before we go to the question of the week, I do want to do a little review of last week's Girl Power podcast. I have some grievances with you people, and now you're going to hear them.
With you people, you girls. Go ahead.
No, that's from Seinfeld, right?
Dish it out, John.
No, I thought it was awesome. It's great job by Sammy hosting.
She did kill it.
Just such a much better voice than I do, and I feel like she should host at some point. Well, I'll pass the reins over, and I'll sit on the couch with you guys. But no,
does that mean I get the swivel chair?
Yeah, it's fun. I did send y'all the text about the cake judging. I know that y'all had brought that up because I did judge a cake contest one time at the Lee County Fair, and the judges get to eat that cake. The question was, what happens to the cake afterwards, right? So they just divvy out the cake to everyone. It was a great day.
Yeah, awesome. I was curious because I had told y'all one of my best friends, she's a baker. She won a blue ribbon for one of the wedding cakes that she entered the competition for. And I was curious, what happens to the cake?
I went and looked at the cakes at the fair that won, and they were fabulous. Just so talented. People are so talented in this state, honestly.
It's amazing.
Oh.
And you know how much I love Village of Yesteryear and places.
I was going to bring that up too. My pottery minute. My family from Blowing Rock has been in the Village of Yesteryear 40 years.
Yeah.
They always have the same booth there, so we always had to go to that place.
That's cool.
And it does have a special part.
Are they there this year?
Yeah.
I didn't see. Okay.
Yeah, so.
That's cool.
So when I heard you mention, I was like, wow, somebody else goes to the Village.
I love it there. I don't have artistic talent like that, but I appreciate it. So I like to go and see what people have done. I can really appreciate, even though I don't know how to do it, I can tell that's impressive. That's tough.
And the Moravian cookies are in there too.
So. Yes, they are. Yeah.
Oh, I love those.
Shout out to Heritage Forge, by the way. Those guys, go watch the blacksmiths. They're amazing.
Oh, yeah. I always have.
I like that about our question of the week. Because I know you had some comments on that.
Oh, yeah. That was it.
Well, our question of the week last week was who would play you as what celebrity would play you in a movie?
Yeah. So I wanted to give you mine because you're not going to expect it. But once upon a time, John was much skinnier and much more handsome. And people said that I look like Matt Damon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see
in the face, right?
I can see that.
Yeah. Picture me many pounds lighter. But yes.
I know. Listen, I feel you. I mean, I feel you.
And I think I told y'all, Sammy has always reminded me of Billie Eilish in the face.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's offensive to you or not, is it?
No, she's beautiful.
Okay.
I love her eyes.
And just amazing.
Love her eyes.
Amazing artist.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, she was in Raleigh for 2 days. Apparently the traffic wasn't too bad getting to her show. Last year it was horrendous trying to get to Sabrina Carpenter.
Traffic's bad going to anything in Raleigh anytime.
Well, it was also it's State Fair time.
Oh, yeah.
Right at Lenovo Center.
Mm.
I am just lucky to have a brother who is an aggressive driver and drove me and his girlfriend to that concert last year because
God bless the highway patrol that's out there trying to get everybody through that traffic to the fair.
So, John.
Yes.
What's our question this week?
Okay, so the question of the week.
John's wacky weird question of the week.
So as you know, I did do a lot of traveling last week. My wife and I were able to get away from the children for the week and enjoy some time off. We went to Miami and then went on a cruise. And I learned a lot of stuff about myself on this.
Did you?
Oh my.
Specifically on the travel part. And I want to know, what is your biggest travel pet peeve? And I have 3 of them that I wanted to talk about. I think it's a very important time for us to talk about this. First off, no one ever waits for anybody to get off an elevator these days.
Ugh.
Have you noticed
everywhere?
Like, just wait. Just sit there and, like, you push the button, you want to go up, right? But let people off the
It's
elevator.
even like that at the legislature. Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't have to jump. There's no rush to get on the elevator. It's not going anywhere.
And they've got to get off before you can get on.
Yeah.
So.
That's my first one. Second one, kind of the same idea. When you're on a plane and people get up at the end and, like, try to pass you. Like, we should do this by aisle, by row, and you get your stuff out of the thing and then you leave. Like, why do people always try to pass you?
I understand people who have a very quick connection.
Okay, we had that problem.
If you have a short connection, I do understand that. But that's also when you put your bags, like, as soon as you get on the plane, just find a spot and put your bag up so that when it is your time to get off and get out of your row, you can just walk forward and then grab your bag, boom, keep going.
So we had a long delay on our flight from Raleigh to Miami. And I think it was maybe something to do with the TSA problems that are going on, the shutdown. But, so when we got to Miami, people who were connecting, they made an announcement to let those people off first. So I can understand that. Like, and those people got off. People did take advantage of that, though. And they were like, I got to get off, too. But they weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a big one. That one really is upsetting. And then the third one is kind of a me problem. But, like, people who get on those escalators that are flat and, like, don't move.
You mean the moving sidewalk?
Yeah.
Escalators that are flat. I was like, what?
I mean, that's what I used to call
names?
them.
I'm sorry.
So they stand still on the moving. Well, you can do that, but you have to stand to the right. And then people can.
No, they'll just, like, stand straight across and then
take up the whole.
Like, we can't go anywhere else. Like, this is to make us walk like twice as fast, right? Let's go.
I just don't get on those because I don't see the point of them.
They make you go faster.
They do make you walk fast if you're able to walk.
Yeah.
I am a speed walker,
but you'd be even
already.
faster.
So I'm just like, I don't need it. Just move.
Like, they get on it and act like it's a joyride. Like, there's a point to this thing.
I think that's why I don't use them, because I usually see people who are just standing on it, and I'm like, you would just be in my way. I can walk faster than you. Move.
No, all the people I saw were young and they could still move, which brings me to
John is increasingly becoming that man who yells at glass.
Exactly. That's why.
You look young. Keep it moving.
That's why my other option for you guys is, how do you know when you're getting old? Because this is obviously how I know.
Tell stories like that. There were a bunch of young people. They were perfectly able-bodied.
I hate to say it, Sam, but most of these pet peeves involve young folk who are trying to get ahead. Yeah, these kids these days, they just don't respect the rules of travel. Y'all have any pet peeves?
I do.
Okay, what's that?
Slow walkers in general. Get out of my way. As someone who's been to New York multiple times.
Oh, wow.
And walks around like she lives there. If you are going slow and you're in my way, I will turn into a New Yorker and unironically say, I am walking here.
Just like, that's why I'll stay to the right, because I'm not going fast and you're not going to push me.
Oh, I was so mad. We went to Broadway at the end of the night, and we were going to go to a nice little speakeasy in the Broadway area because we thought it would be cool. By the time we were done with that show, though, I was so irritated with all the people walking slow in Times Square that I said, let's just get back to the Flower District now. I want to get out of here. I'm done.
So, Artist, you just took a trip. International trip, right? To Scotland.
Well, yeah, I went to Scotland.
So did you encounter any
pet peeves there?
Pet peeves on the way?
No, heck no. It's bliss. It's I don't even care the pet peeves I encounter on the way there, because
it's worth it.
Scotland once you get there.
Your pet peeve is coming home.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anything from you, Suzanne?
Well, I mean, I am not an international traveler. But we did a lot of...
You got to go to Scotland specifically.
Well, I mean, I have some things
go to Hawaii
that I think about. It just doesn't fit in my life right now. Grandchildren, I have a very full life right now. But just travel, like here in North Carolina, we've done a lot of that. Brian and I used to ride motorcycles. And so this is more of a personal pet peeve. Get up at 4:00 in the morning to make a 3-hour trip up to wherever you're staying that you can't get into, being hurried when it's not necessary.
Like, because you can't check into hotels.
Yeah, so
exactly.
why are we in a hurry to get picked up and leave this early? Take your time and make that part of the trip also pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great one, because this also happened to me. My wife wanted to get We had to get to the airport like 2 hours early.
Yeah.
And have you seen the things on TikTok where it's like, can you get
the airport rule?
Yeah. It's like, can you get to your gate in 15 minutes? Like by arriving in 15 minutes?
Or 40 minutes.
We got to the airport at like 6 a.m. for an 8 a.m. flight, and the flight didn't take off until like 9:40.
Yeah.
We sat in this airport for like 4, and luckily RDU is a nice airport. Because we also had to do that in Miami, and it's
Not
like,
so much.
I mean, it's a nice airport, but it's just huge,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm going to be flying solo a little bit in the beginning of 2026, so I got to prepare for that stuff. I'm flying to Hawaii for a concert in March, and I am flying to Orlando, Florida for the exact same band in February.
More. That's a wonderful thing. You've traveled more at your age than most people have.
Do it now.
Because you're prioritizing that.
Yeah.
That's good.
But I did tell her that she is like venturing into groupie.
Yeah, because I'm going to the exact same band in Orlando that I'm going to see in Hawaii.
Oh, you are like a
groupie.
What do they call the Grateful Dead?
Oh, yeah.
Deadheads.
I'm a rusher. It's Big Time Rush, and we are called Rushers.
She's a rusher, y'all.
Speaking of your party life, you're probably the only one in here that is dressing up for Halloween. So let's ask that question. What are you going to be for Halloween?
I'm going to be Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother. I'm going to buy a ducky tie and wear like a skirt and a button-up shirt and do like this. Because there is an episode.
I don't know the
There
show.
is an episode in How I Met Your Mother where, because Barney Stinson always wears a suit. And him and one of his best friends in the show find this tie, and they call it the ducky tie. It's the most atrocious looking tie ever in their eyes. It's a bright blue tie with duckies all over it, and he loses a bet and has to wear the ducky tie for, I think, a year unless something happens.
Like, he's the guy that played Doogie Howser.
Oh,
Yeah, Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
So I will be Barney Stinson wearing a ducky tie.
All right.
I'm excited.
What about you, artist? What are you going to be?
There's any variety of
You're going to be an executive
scary,
giving out candy.
Yeah, there was a King of the Hill episode years ago where one of the neighbors on the street Hank Hill lived on dressed up and said, I'm a high-powered Washington lobbyist peddling influence. That's what I'm going to be.
All I can think of when I think of
Scariest
King of
thing
the
he
Hill
could think of
is, that's my purse. Don't be afraid to shout it. That's my purse. I don't know you.
I love King of the Hill.
I'm not dressing up. Are you dressing up?
Nah. No. I mean, I would, that maybe at some point I will be. Those grandchildren kind of rule my life.
You should do like a group costume with them.
Yeah, because they do. They're
Family
so
costume.
cute. They do a family. They like last year, I think it was Bluey.
Oh, yeah.
Bluey. Some of y'all are familiar with that. So they were the Bluey.
We did Flintstones one time with Claire.
Yeah. So I'm not this year. And we live on a really busy road. I don't live like in a neighborhood, so I don't even get trick-or-treaters.
We don't get trick-or-treaters either.
I may be single and live alone, but I do know what Bluey is as a full-grown adult. Partially because I found it interesting that Bluey is in all colors that dogs can see.
Yeah.
So sometimes I will turn it on for my dog, and he'll actually look at the TV and just be like, oh, I see those colors.
That's a big thing people are doing, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go, I have a cat video, of like a cartoon mouse going around the screen. My cat loves it. Have a great week, guys.
Goodness.
Bye, y'all.